In your own words, what is a documentary?
I would best describe a documentary as a group of people trying to bring light to a subject that a lot of people don't really know about, whether that's Donkey Kong or Antarctica or Settlers of Catan.
Okay. How has the documentary filmmaking process been for you?
I've had fun. We basically just been playing Catan, a lot of Catan, last couple days hanging out with each other. Filming. It's gonna be a nightmare to edit all this, but Yogi's up to the challenge. I don't know how you're gonna stay up all night to do it, but Godspeed.
What have you learned during this process?
I've learned that I've always been a procrastinator, so putting this documentary off to the last week to do all the shooting was natural.
Thank you. Any closing words?
Catan may ruin friendships, but it can also bring friendships closer together. This is known as a paradox.
Being the sheep guy.
I'm not rolling yet.
You should have told him that.
Get rolling!
Okay. Well, being the sheep guy, though, most would say that it is a curse from which many cannot escape. But I like to view it as a sort of curse and a power, you know, because on the very rare occasion that somebody may need a sheep, which never happens, but on that rare occasion, I mean, you have that monopoly of those sheep. And just somebody's like, oh, I need a sheep, and you hold up half of the deck, and you're like, oh, my coffers of sheep flowed over.
You mentioned the word monopoly. I was just about to go to that. What do you have to say about your punishment of the monopoly card?
Yes. Well, the monopoly card. When you play said card, it allows you to obtain all of one element from each person's hand. However, it is also the curse of the monopoly card that if you play it and you gain nothing, that you must set it as your screensaver on your phone until in another game you play it and gain something. It's a fate I would not wish my greatest foe to fall to.
Do you pick a side or fight?
I don't know. They both have their own strategies, neither of which will give them to you in full detail, but they don't have to be neutral as well until I finally see them duke it out in one final game to decide which is better.
Yourself, as a documentary filmmaker now, view documentary films often.
I would say yes, in that the documentary film process of the making of documentary films, they really excite you, and they make you, I know it sounds crazy, just making a documentary film, how fun could that be? But they're really exciting. They make you want to go out and find new forms of documentaries that are also exciting, and I've had more fun doing this than I've had doing most things in school. And
what's the last documentary you watched?
the last one would have to be Food Inc. that I watched in Wallace's class.
Did you enjoy that?
It was very informative and very enjoyable, but in an odd kind of way, because with Food Inc. it's not about pleasing your audience, it's about sort of scaring them into a change, and it was very impactful. And yeah, I'm definitely a different person today because of that documentary.
So, your own documentary is about the game Settlers of Catan. What made you choose to do your documentary over this, and why not something else?
First of all, Settlers of Catan is one of my favorite games that I've been introduced to. It's up there with Pokemon and Smash Bros. What was the other part of it?
What made you choose to do this over something
Oh,
else?
well, Catan, like I said, is a very special game to me, and it's like a big part of our life right now. We play often, and when they asked us what we wanted to do for a documentary, that was immediately our first thought, because it's fun, and there are a lot of intricacies and interesting things that come with Catan.
Okay. So what was your role during this filmmaking process?
My role, I was an expertise personnel, because I played for over a year. I gave a lot of info to others in our documentary film crew about the game and where we could find people who played the game. I was kind of like a scout for people who we could interview, an opinion scout, if you will. I also was a little bit of the transportation, and I also was interviewed. So I was pretty much just a gatherer of knowledge. I was just, they needed somebody who knew Catan, and I knew Catan. So.
Okay. What do you feel you have learned while making this documentary?
What I have learned. Well, I think I've learned that Catan is not the big old beast I thought it once was. It's much more than fickle. It's evil, and can cause just catastrophes as well as very nice things.
Right, but what have you learned about documentaries?
Documentaries. Well, in the making of this one, I've learned that when you're making a documentary, you kind of have this just open, clean slate to work with, and that can be overwhelming sometimes, but also it's very freeing in that there's no set rules on how to do this, and also that we need to plan ahead, because we didn't, and we're kind of in a tight spot.
So would you consider doing this again?
I would do this again, but not on something as frivolous as Catan.
What's something that you would choose to do though?
I would probably choose to do it over environmental issues, because that's something that's really important to me, and I think that's a huge issue today, and more people need to know about our environment and how we're affecting it and such.
Well, do you have anything you want to add?
I've had a good time making this film, and I hope everyone out there enjoys it.
Thank you.
Catan is a game based around being a devious human, trading resources with your ally.
Beat the game while being cheap.
What does it mean to be an editor for a documentary?
To be an editor for a documentary is to be the very soul of it. You're the person that's standing between you and, not putting content out. The whole thing, the filming process, yeah, it's all fun and dandy, but for something to actually take place, you need an editor to actually compile all of your video together. Without an editor, you've got nothing.
So you're saying you can't just mash a bunch of stuff together and call it a documentary, like a lot of these projects probably are.
If you're anything like us, no. There's multiple cuts of us doing stupid things or people being distractions, kind of getting in the way.
Okay. Have you enjoyed this process?
Have I enjoyed this process?
Yes. Have you enjoyed this process?
Does 2 continuous nights of pulling all-nighters sound fun? And if so, then probably, yeah.
Okay. What does the documentary filmmaking process mean to you as the only
It's a possible career. I could see myself doing this as a career. It's also something I do as a hobby. I also have a freelance job of this. I do this for other people. And something like this is just, more practice, I guess.
think it was weird being in both our production and the other production about Catan?
Yeah, it was really interesting to be able to be behind the scenes filming these people, but also being someone who's being filmed at the same time. That was just strange.
Do you think it ever cut into your social life to be in both of these productions?
Not even a little bit, especially considering I'd probably be playing Catan with these guys anyways.
What have you learned about either Catan or documentaries in general through this whole process?
Well, for that, I'll need the wizard hat. I don't know. I've just learned that it's really difficult to edit together a documentary and also be a part of a documentary at the same time, and just Catan's a lot of fun, but it's a lot less fun when you're playing for a reason and you're not just playing just to play. And if I were just making a documentary, I would have a lot more fun with it than if it was for Boss.
What topic would you have chosen if you could do a documentary over anything else besides our documentary on a documentary?
Topic would I have chosen? Probably be over either rampant sexism in today's workplace or separation of church and state.
Those are both very different than documentary on a documentary and documentary over Catan.
Yes.
Is there a reason you chose to do a documentary on a documentary for this?
Honestly, we chose it because we thought it would be cool. And it's proven to be quite difficult. So Milo, how long have you been playing Catan?
I've been playing Catan since roughly around Christmas break, so if I had to take a wild guess, probably about 2.5, maybe 3 months.
That is wrong, but good work.
Okay.
Did you notice anything interesting during your time being filmed?
Just the fact that the entire group that's conducting both of these documentaries, it's basically one big great group of friends. So they all work very well with each other, and they're all very compatible, and it's easy for them to talk to each other and feel comfortable about it.
Okay. So next year, as a senior, are you going to take AP English or regular English?
Probably AP English.
Okay, so you're not going to have to do this documentary project.
You're right.
But would you help your friends do yourself?
Oh, undoubtedly.
Would you ever consider making a documentary?
Yeah, if I could find a valid enough topic that I could research enough about.
So you don't have anything that you feel like you feel strongly enough about to make a documentary?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I never really thought about it before. I'd probably find something super scientific and smart sounding, or maybe I could just do one over Jacob Foster.
Well, that would be awful.
His
But
interesting exploits.
he does have an interesting face. Documentary filmmaking is an important part of today's culture.
I definitely do. I think that documentaries are very informative about things that need to be well known by society. You know, like a lot of people wouldn't know about serious issues in the world, like human trafficking or slavery or anything, if documentaries didn't explain them to people. So it kind of puts information that would normally be, I don't want to say boring, but I'm going to say boring and not seem very interesting, and it puts it into like this video form where you can just sit down and absorb it all in one sitting.
How has it been different, just watching how different these two documentaries have been? Because one's informative about a very specific thing, and the other is informative about a very broad idea. Maybe not a huge idea. Okay, I'm confusing myself.
Well,
but
yes, thank you. I feel as if they kind of contrast each other because while one is about the specificity, yes, that of the game of Settlers of Catan, while the other one is over that documentary and maybe even documentaries in general. So they kind of contrast each other, and it creates this interesting sort of thing. And yeah.
All right.
Is it grape?
That's gross. What?
God, grape is horrible.
That's wrong. Are you excited to see how these documentaries turn out?
Yes, very.
Can you elaborate?
Well, suppose. I definitely want to see them when they are finished, in their finished state, and I want to watch them like back to back, so I can see the Catan one first, and then see the one that's over Catan, like over the making of the one about Catan. It'll like show all the behind the scenes stuff that was going on for the first one.
Would you consider watching them both at the same time?
Maybe if I was on LSD, then perhaps I would watch both of them at the same time.
I feel like that would make it more confusing, but you do you.
I shall.